Ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Senate will now come to order. Our prayer today will be delivered by Pastor Paul Brazier of Central Baptist Church in Trussville, Alabama. Pastor Brazier is a guest of Senator Bell.
Thank y'all for allowing me to be here today, and I just thank you for what you do. I really do. Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Father God, we thank you for all the blessings you give us. Father, you're holy, you're just, you're perfect. We thank you, Lord, for giving us Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody comes to the Father but through you, but through him. And Father, we thank you for that. We thank you for the forgiveness we have. And Father, I pray right now you'd be with these men and women here in this Senate, that you'd help them legislate. Father, the word legislate literally means to legislate morality, and many folks say you can't do that, but you're supposed to do that, Lord. And I pray that every legislation that comes out of here would be representative of your truth, of your standards, and of your life for this whole state. And Father, I pray in the name of Jesus, they would legislate things that would help us grow as a state, things that would help us be a state that would help us spread the gospel of you all around the world. But from right here, Lord, I pray that people would come to this state. I know people are coming to this state right now, Lord, because they do not like what's going on in other states. And Father, I pray, Lord, you'd help us to legislate your morality, your truth, your standards in your life here. And Father, help us not to monitor any immoral things that come out of here in legislation. Help us to legislate truth and your way. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus, you'd be with each one of them today. I pray, Lord, you'd bless them, bless their families. And Father, I pray, Lord, that you'd bless this great state because we called on you, you gave us your wisdom, and we voted likewise. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Brazier. Today, the pledge will be led by Laura Asbell. Laura is a student at Alabama Christian Academy. Laura is the daughter of David and Michelle Asbell, and is my guest and also Senator Weaver. Great to have you.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
All right, thank you, Laura. Secretary, call the roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Bell, Mr. Butler, Mr. Carnley, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Kitchens, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Melson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Reed, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Shellnut.
Go ahead and lay it up there.
Mr. Singleton, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner,
Here.
Ms. Weaver, Mr. Williams,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 25 senators present, which is a quorum. The Senate is ready to transact business. Senator Wagner, before I go, I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. The guest of Senator Wes Kitchens, the Marshall County Leadership Challenge. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate.
Mr. President.
Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, move we excuse absent senators.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we dispense with the reading of the journal from the previous legislative day and that we adopt said journal.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator Wagner.
President, I have a report from the Committee on Rules.
All right, Secretary Reed received the report from the Committee on Rules.
From the Committee on Rules, Senate Resolution Number 21, Special Order Calendar. Be it resolved by the Senate of the Legislature of Alabama that immediately upon the adoption of this resolution, the following business in the order set forth below shall be the special and paramount order of business for the 9th legislative day, taking precedence over the regular order of business or any pending or unfinished business. Reports from standing committees. On page 6, Senate Bill 129 by Senator Barfoot and others relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that the Senate adopt the report from the Committee on Rules. Use
All right.
short roll.
Okay. Senator Smithman,
Mr. President, I'd like to be recognized to speak.
you're recognized.
All right. How long do I have to speak to?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much.
20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess I'll have to, at some point in time, if there's a gap that happens, I can be able to bring our moment of Black history. So I'll hopefully I'll be looking as we move through the day for that opportunity to do that. Usually we have it at the beginning, but because we've gone straight to the special order calendar,
Senator Smithman, if you want to talk about it, I'm fine with that.
I just thank you.
All right, so if you want to, you can talk about it right now.
I don't want to use the 20 minutes on that because
Okay.
I'm gonna use it on the special order.
Got it.
So I just
Anyway, I just want to make sure you know, whenever you want to, you're welcome to talk about that.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very, very much. Let me get a copy of it. First, I'll talk about the obvious, and it's simply the fact that we don't have but one bill on this calendar, and that one bill is not from the minority caucus. This is the third straight calendar that you all have determined, when I say you all, whoever makes that determination, that we shouldn't have any bills on the calendar. For whatever reason. And I think that I just want to say to everybody in here, that's getting to be very problematic. And it's problematic to the flow of this body and the process. And so, I mean, I remember what I said when we came in here on the first Tuesday. I said, I take your two. Do you all have a rule book? Anybody got a rule book that I could just use a second? Thank you. I take your rules, and I take your twos, and I try to do what I can to be successful in representing the people in Senate District 18. Well, it's obvious that the twos that I'm given is twos that is not meant for me to be able to operate. Because if it was, this special order calendar would reflect bills from both sides of the aisle. So I just thought I would say this, is that that's going to be a primary concern of mine as we go forward the rest of these days in here. Not in terms of a concern of the fact that and it's the reason why, but the simple fact that we don't have them on here. And as I said earlier, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, is that, as I said earlier, when you all was in the minority, we not only made sure that that was a third because that's what you all wanted us to do, and we agreed to do it. But we also did that with committee agendas. And I've looked at several of these committee agendas, and I've seen on these agendas that we have nothing. And I've also seen the simple fact on these agendas that, and I haven't said anything to anybody, and I ain't gonna single nobody out, but we got a lot of this moving these bills around to avoid them going in proper committees where members in the majority of our people on our side gets first impression out here on the floor. Now remember this, if this is where we get our first impression personally of a bill at the committee of the whole, then that's where it's got to be dealt with, or the process thereof. So I want to say that the process is designed that we're going to get a chance at some point in time to interact regarding that bill. So that does not enhance, and I'll give you your book back, that does not enhance or eliminate the concerns, and it has a direct effect on our flow of our system going on in here. And you said, why are you telling us all this? So when that flow, when there's a problem with the flow, don't be reacting. Don't be getting upset, and don't criticize us. Just reflect back as to what you've been doing, and you'll know that this is the reason why. You created the disruption of flow by totally ignoring us with this agenda. Now, this bill we're going to take up, let me say it just like this. I'm going to say it just like this. I'm going to go straight to the heart of it, and then I'm going to come back to the veins and the other organs that exist. I hear people talking about this woe something. Woke, that's what it is. I'm here to say to everybody in here, I don't even know what this woke y'all talking about. Y'all know I'm straight up. I tell you what the definition was if I knew what it was. I don't even know. But just because it's some kind of wave, you ever notice in them football games where they have waves, folks just throw their arms up because they just see a wave and they're gonna be a part of a wave. This must be some kind of wave. Now, let me first start out by saying this. These young people today, you ain't finna stop them, black or white, blue or green, whatever you want to call it. You ain't finna stop them from being able to share information and communicate, i.e. TikTok or TikTok, whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram. Should I name some more? Yeah, I mean, just so let's get that first straight. This ain't back when we had to have telegrams and had the mailman to run once a week, and you could intercept the mail or anything of that nature. We are in a modern technology time that people are going to know the truth about what takes place, period. Okay, I want to say that first. What bothers me, and I have no actual facts, this is secondhand communication, but if it ain't, I invite some people to come to I guess this mic, Senator, and I'll come over there with you to tell me it ain't so. But I was informed, like I said, I haven't checked any validity of this out, but I was informed that in part, this woke thing, whatever you call it, really we had a couple of our universities that wanted to get it off the campus, and as a result of that, sacrificed everybody, all our other colleges, all our other universities, because they wanted to get it off. The second thing I heard is that they have been basically taken care of in this bill, and all of our other institutions have been ignored, both black and white, other than two what we call flagship universities. One of them ignored is my own school, UAB. See, I ain't gonna call the flagships names, but I'm gonna call the ones who ain't in the group. They're excluded. University of Alabama at Huntsville excluded. Alabama A&M excluded. Alabama State excluded. Jacksonville State excluded. South Alabama excluded. All those schools were excluded to satisfy two people. Ignored, didn't bring them to the table, or anything. So what that tells me is this. That tells me, oh, by the way, and let me say this, I stand corrected. When the sponsor comes, he can correct me if I'm wrong. But that is carved out an exception in there for athletics. And if that's the case, if that ain't modern day slavery, I don't know what it is. Because you want the black boys and girls to play, win national championship and make the money, but you don't want their folks to have an opportunity through inclusion and diversity to take advantage of what's being offered in the form of education, enrichment, and quality, and academia and degrees. You know, so if that ain't modern day slavery, and after this athlete get through, just like the field man, the big strong field guy that working in the field, or just like the mule, when he gets through, and then he's washed up and he cannot do anything else, then he gonna be kicked back out there to face the same denials that his folks faced from the beginning after this bill passed. Okay, that's what's really happening here. That's really what's happening. You can call it what you want to, but that's what's really happening. I'm serious. That's what's really happening. So, as I look at this, and as I see what's taking place, I cannot understand how in the world that we have retrogressed to this point in 2024. In this body, I can't understand. And you might say, what you mean you can't understand, Smilderman? I can't understand, and I want to get my days straight. I wish Senator Figgers was here, because I could ask her, when was it the exact year that Michael Figgers became the pro tem in this body? How can we go in a body that at one point where there's only 8 African Americans out of 35, and have a sense, and I can't think of any other word, but of open-mindedness, of all men and women are created equal. And to judge them by the content of their ability and their character. Use that as the standard. That's what this body used as the standard. It didn't matter about black, white, or anything. Used as the standard. And nominated from this floor. And the roll was called from this well to elect him as president pro tem of this body. Then, in his infinite wisdom for a second time nominated from the floor, voted, and elected me as pro tem of this body. Now we have retrogressed to a point that we want to deny the average citizens the opportunity to get a quality professional education. We want to deny them the opportunity to be able to matriculate and do what they need to do. All I can say is that those two things that I told you happened, and happened with a very, very, I can't think of no other word than just say fair. Fair, maybe that word fits. Fair opportunity for each and every person to be considered equally. I hate to break the news to the body, but that opportunity existed on our watch when we were the majority. It had nothing to do, remember I said it was only 8 blacks, so it ain't got nothing to do with no black. It got to do with people providing an opportunity to everybody. But yet now we want to go to the point that we want to go all the way down here. We want to get the person that's trying to come out of high school. We want to get the person that's trying to do better. We want to get the person that's trying to pull themselves out of whatever economic and situation that they live in. We want to pull somebody out who, when I go back to this morning, I was at a meeting and a conversation was had about the fact that when I went to school, and the conversation was with people that didn't necessarily look like me. But you know what? I went back and recapped. I can recap when we first was allowed to go to school after so many hundreds of years, denial. We didn't even have books. And yet we mastered in learning how to read and write. When we finally got books, we got the old raggedy books and the books that had been used, and the history was old history in the books. I came along when them books were like that. Then we finally went somewhere to get, they finally, somewhere down the line, last few years, decided that everybody ought to have the same book. Now, if the reason I mentioned that about the education part, how much time I got? How many? 2 minutes. The reason I mentioned that, because this, first of all, this bill is akin to segregation. And if you want segregation, why don't you substitute this and just say we're gonna make segregation legal again, or try to anyway. Okay. Now, you say, okay, why are you saying all that? Because that's what this bill does. It's just the first beginning of it. Now, one of the things, though, I said, if you don't want us in these schools, let's appropriate. I hate to put them on the spot, and I ain't gonna call no names, but I've seen a president of the HBCU, one of them. Why don't we give him the same appropriations that we give the flagship schools, and just let our kids go there? All our athletes, all our brains in these ACT 32s and 6s we got, all these kids we got that go to STEM and master into all of that, why don't we just get the money and encourage them to go to those schools? If you don't want us, then fine. Because my daddy told me when I was looking for a mate, he said, it's best to be with somebody who loves you than somebody that you want to love on you. So if you don't love us, that's fine. If you don't want us, that's fine. But then at least give us the necessary resources that we'll do it ourselves. It's just that simple. Because that's what this boils down to. You want to use us over here, then you want to discard us over here. That's what's really happening. You have to just call it for what it is. I mean, y'all, that's what it is. And all we are saying is that, okay, if you don't want us, that's fine. Okay. But don't try to disguise it. Under this bill, you're just trying to disguise it. You don't want some of the young people, both black and white,
right,
to know
Senator
the
Smithman.
true history at that time.
Yeah, time's
Okay.
up.
Okay.
All right, Secretary,
Roll
call the
call.
long. Yeah, we don't have a roll yet. Secretary, call the long roll.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shellnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman.
No.
Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
All right, 24 ayes, 6 nays. The special order calendar is adopted. Secretary, call the bill. All right, who- All right, Secretary, call the first committee.
From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 111 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Smithman.
request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Board of Heating, Air Conditioning, and Refrigeration Contractors until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 113 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
Secretary, read the title.
From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board until October 1st, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 114 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
All right, I'd like to recognize a special guest in the gallery. This is the guest of Senator Stewart, Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg, and she is the youngest freedom fighter on Bloody Sunday. If you could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate.
Where is she?
All right, Senator Smithman, thank you. And you wanted the title to be read?
Yes, sir.
Did we read the title on this bill? If not, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Real Estate Appraisers Board until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 115 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the State Licensing Board for general contractors until October 1, 2027. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 116 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Smithman.
request the title be read.
All right, before you do that, let me recognize some special guests in the gallery. These are the guests of Senator Figger, Senator Sessions, and Senator Williams. When I call your name, if you could please stand. The students from Mobile County High School and the TALL program, sponsored by the Southwest Mobile County of Chamber of Commerce. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, one more group I'd like to recognize real quick. Good to have a bunch of guests here today. We have the Briarwood High School in the Senate gallery, the guest of the Birmingham delegation. If y'all could please stand, and Senator Wagner. Welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama On-Site Wastewater Board until October 1, 2025, with certain modifications to amend Section 3421A4 Code of Alabama to allow an organizational meeting of the board to be considered a regular quarterly meeting of the board. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 120 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Board of Funeral Services until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 121 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Request the title, Mr. President.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Real Estate Commission until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 122 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Board of Electrical Contractors until October 1st, 2026, with certain modifications to amend Sections 3436.7 and 3436.16 Code of Alabama 1975 to prohibit the issuance of new provisional electrical contractors licenses and to permit the renewal of existing provisional electrical contractors licenses. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 123 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the State Board of Auctioneers until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 124 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Smithman.
request the title be read.
All right, before we do that, I want to recognize some special guests in the gallery. The guest of Senator Chambliss and Senator Hovey. When I call your name, if you could please stand. The junior leadership from Lake Martin, from Coosa and Tallapoosa counties. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to Alabama Senate. All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Security Regulatory Board until October 1, 2027. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 136 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the statewide 911 Board until October 1, 2026. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 137 receives a favorable report with substitute by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to terminate the existence and functioning of the Alabama Board of Massage Therapy to create the Alabama Massage Therapy Licensing Board pursuant to new Chapter 43A, Title 34, Code of Alabama, to provide for the membership and organization of the new board, to provide for the transfer of all powers, duties, rights, records, and property from the former board to the new board, to temporarily extend the renewal date of certain licenses and registrations issued by the former board, to repeal Chapter 43, Title 34, Code of Alabama, providing for the Alabama Board of Massage Therapy, and in connection therewith would have as its purpose or effect the requirement of a new or increased expenditure of local funds within the meaning of Section 111.05 of the Constitution of Alabama of 2022. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill number 138 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the State of Alabama Plumbers and Gas Fitters Examining Board until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 139 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Board of Cosmetology and Barbering until October 1, 2028. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, Senate Bill 140 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law to continue the existence and functioning of the Alabama Professional Bail Bonding Board until October 1, 2025. From the Committee on Fiscal Responsibility and Economic Development, House Bill 139 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to the Alabama Sunset Law of 1981 to remove the Department of Insurance from review under the Sunset Law.
Is that it? These bills received a second read and be placed on the calendar for next legislative day. Secretary, call the next committee.
From the Committee on Transportation and Energy, Senate Bill number 50 receives a favorable report by a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President, I request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Relating to appliances to prohibit a governmental entity from taking certain actions to restrict the acquisition or use of an appliance solely based on the type of energy or energy generation used to operate the appliance.
All right, this bill has received a second read and will be placed on the calendar for next legislative day. This concludes committee reports. Secretary, call the next bill on the calendar.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 129 by Senator Barfoot and others relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion. BIR pending.
All right, Senator Barfoot.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I am going to do the best job that I can today to each of you to explain what the bill does, what it's intended to do, and the safeguards that are in place that may address some concerns that I've heard. I'm going to do that as succinctly as I can and would appreciate everybody listening. So this bill, as most bills do, have multiple sections. The definition section contained in SB 129 is very specific as it pertains to divisive concepts. So let's talk about what those divisive concepts are. A divisive concept is defined in this legislation, says that any race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin is inherently superior or inferior. That's what a divisive concept is. It's one of the 9 that are listed in there. I believe those words. I believe that consenting to or being compelled to, or the thought process that just because of your race, just because of your gender, just because of the color of your skin, just because of your ethnicity or national origin, that you are superior or inferior to another is wrong. It's wrong. So I'm going to refer to that class, that group of people, race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, and national origin throughout this rather than reading them all. The second divisive concept in this legislation is that individuals should be discriminated against or adversely treated because of who they are. I don't believe that. This bill lists that as a divisive concept, and I don't believe anybody else in here believes that either. That the moral character of an individual is determined by his or her race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin. I don't think you'll find a member in here that believes that. Shouldn't. We stand on our own. Color of our skin doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. National origin doesn't matter. Ethnicity doesn't matter. That's the reason that's a divisive concept, is when we preach that. That by virtue of an individual's race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin, that individual is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive. I don't believe that. I don't believe any of my colleagues believe that. That fault, blame, or bias should be assigned to members of a race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin on the basis of that. I don't believe that. I don't believe any of you believe that. That is a divisive concept, and we've defined it in this legislation. Goes on in Section 3, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. That a program, a class, training, seminar, or other event participation is based on an individual's race, sex, gender identity, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, or that otherwise violates this act. We lay out what a DEI office is. It's important to listen to that. It's important to listen to the exceptions that are provided in this legislation. Now that we've talked about some of the definitions, let's talk about what Section 2 does. Section 2 says is the prohibitions that a state agency, local board of education, or public institution of higher education may not do any of the following: sponsor any diversity, equity, and inclusion program, or maintain an office, physical location, or department that promotes that DEI. You cannot direct or compel a student, employee, or contractor to affirm, adopt any of those divisive concepts that I spoke of earlier, which again, I believe we should all, and probably in this chamber, all agree are divisive. You cannot make somebody believe those, that just because you're of one race or sex or national origin or gender, that you are better or inferior to somebody else. You cannot require a student, employee, or contractor, require a student, employee, or contractor to share his or her personal point of view on a divisive concept. You can't require students, employees, or contractors to participate as part of a required curriculum or mandatory professional training in an activity that includes lobbying at the local level for legislation related to a divisive concept. Free to do it on your own time. Free to do it on your own dime. I want you a part of the process. I want you down here. I don't care what side of the issue you're on. We should want folks down here to lobby, to listen, so that we have a different point of view. All for it. It's what makes this process works. But we shouldn't mandate somebody to come down here and lobby for one of those divisive concepts that divide us, that separate us. There's been some concern about the potential penalties. Penalties of potentially having someone fired or disciplinary action. I get it. I understand that 100%. There's laws already in place This does not change those procedures. Section 3 addresses that. All state agencies and political subdivisions, including local boards of education and public institutions of higher education, may discipline or terminate the employment of an employee or contractor who knowingly violates this act, provided that, here are the legal safeguards that are already in place and incorporated. Any disciplinary action or termination of an employee of a public institution of higher education shall remain subject to relevant policies established by that institution. Already political safeguards to make sure we don't adversely affect somebody who has a different point of view. Second safeguard as it relates to termination or discipline. Termination of employee or contractor of a local board of education remains subject to the appeal of the termination to the local board of education or state board of education if applicable. And it lists the sections that are already in law that do process right. That I know you and I agree on that. Been a lot of talk about what this legislation does. Let me tell you what it doesn't do, which is quite honestly maybe as important as anything. Section 4, nothing in this act prevents students, staff, or faculty organizations or associations from hosting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs or discussions that may involve divisive concepts, provided that no state funds are used to sponsor these programs. If a student, staff, or faculty organization or association hosts an event pursuant to this subdivision, it shall identify the sponsor of the event at the event and any advertisements relating thereto the event. 2, nothing in this act prevents an employee or contractor of the state agency, local board of education, or public institution of higher ed who provides as part of his or her job duties, orientation, coursework, training, from responding to questions that are raised by participants in the orientation, coursework, or training and that pertains to divisive concepts. I've heard it said, well, if a student asks a question, how will the teacher know whether or not they could answer? It lays it out right here. Students are full of questions, and they should be, from first grade all the way up to graduate students. It lays it out right here. That teacher, if asked that question about one of those divisive concepts, wants to respond, they can. They are free. 3A, prohibits a public institution of education providing an instruction or taking any action in furtherance or satisfying any accreditation standard or requirements. There's been some concern that this could adversely affect accreditation standards that are required. It does not. It says it right here on the paperwork. Not the intent. I'll continue. Nothing in this prohibits a public institution of higher education from authorizing the teaching or discussion of any divisive concept in an objective manner and without endorsement as part of a larger course of academic instruction, provided the institution and employees do not compel assent to the divisive concept.
All right, the time's expired on the BIR.
Thank you.
On order.
Yeah.
The journal may reflect different to what I'm saying, but I didn't hear him make no motion to adoption, no BIR. He came up and started talking about the bill, and I've been standing right here now. And so, I want somebody to tell me on record, please, upon order, whether he in fact made that motion for the adoption of the BIR.
Yeah, so the BIR is the first thing.
I know, but you got to make a motion. You got to say something. We just don't walk up and start doing the BIR. He did not.
President, I'd renew my motion to adopt the BIR.
And I'd like to be recognized, speak on that motion.
Well, no, the time's up on the BIR.
Yeah, but he didn't make any motion. It wasn't a BIR. We don't just walk up because of the calendar and start the BIR. Somebody's got to say trigger of the BIR. Now, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I've been in that seat, and I know these rules that much, that somebody has to, somebody from down here, somebody, don't even have to be the sponsor. Nobody came up there and did that.
Yeah, I believe when he came up.
He didn't
When he came
do it.
up, he talked that he's going to talk. Yeah, so anyway, yeah.
He didn't make a motion. You can't just start talking and that makes a motion.
Yeah.
It's a proper way we have to present ourselves, and he has to make a motion.
Yeah. Well, he talked when he came up. He made clear what he was doing. So on this, Secretary called the long roll.
I will question that point of order again.
Hold on.
How did he?
We're
Albritton.
going to call the long roll, then we'll get back to this.
This is about this. It's
Mr.
moot.
Albritton.
If you call the roll,
Mr.
moot
Allen.
then.
Mr.
Okay.
Barfoot.
Okay, I understand.
Mr. Beasley.
I understand.
Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Conley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison.
Okay.
Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kitchens. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shelnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
All right, 22 ayes, 6 nays. The BR is adopted. Secretary, call the bill.
On page 6 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 129 by Senator Barfoot relating to diversity, equity, inclusion. Committee amendment pending.
Mr. President,
All right,
I'd like to be recognized for a point of order.
all right, you're recognized.
How, if the fact that we have a special order calendar and we go to committee reports, how does that flow us into the bill without a motion for adoption of the BIR? How in the world do we are able to get past the motion to start the consideration for the BIR just because the calendar has been adopted? That's my question. I would like a ruling.
Yeah,
I
so-
just, okay.
Yeah,
And tell
all
me,
right.
somebody please tell me what rule in that book that
Wait,
justifies.
I'm going to answer your question if you give me a second. So we went into the bill, and Senator Barfoot, when he got on there, he said, I'm on the BIR, and that was what he mentioned in his initial statement before he went into the bill. He said that clearly right there when he first came up there.
Mr. Chairman, I ain't heard him say one word. I'm now getting on the BIR.
Yeah.
I'm standing here, Mr. Chairman.
Well, anyway, I mean, that's the ruling on that. I mean, I heard
I
it,
understand
so-
the ruling, but what I'm saying is, where is the ruling? What rule in that book that allows that? And that should be answered before we go further. In the book, our rules we operate on, can you please tell me which one of those rules that allows that to take place? I'm asking. I'm not saying it's not or is, but it's a point of order, and that's what a point of order is.
What I'm saying is I heard him.
That's fine. I'm not arguing with you that you didn't hear him at all.
No.
But I'm asking what rule. The point of order is what rule allows us to do that?
The rule is he came up and made
I'm
the
talking
motion on the BIR.
No, ma'am. No, sir. I'm talking about in the book.
No, that's the process.
But
So-
he did not make
all right.
the motion. I know you said, he might have said, I'm on it, but he didn't make a motion for the adoption of the BIR. And I'm just saying, all I'm asking y'all is what rule in this rule book that's rule number 11, 12, 52,
No.
whatever it is.
It's the rule. He came up, made clear that we were on the BIR, and then also said that, then went into his thing, and that's where we're at on that. So we're moving on. All right, that's my ruling. So on this, Senator Barfoot, you're recognized.
So much, Mr. President.
Another point of order.
Senator Barfoot has the mic. You're recognized.
Thank you.
Okay.
I want to discuss
Okay.
clearly what this bill does not
That's
do.
fine.
It does not, in addition to what we just spoke of, it does not prohibit the teaching of topics of historical events in a historically accurate context. It does not prohibit an institution of higher ed performing research, collecting data, so on. It does not prevent a state agency from promoting racial, cultural, or ethnic diversity or inclusiveness. It does not prohibit housing, athletic programming, or social organizations that are segregated by sex. And there's certainly nothing in this act that's construed to inhibit or violate First Amendment rights of any student or employee, or an attempt to undermine the duty of the public institution of higher education to protect to the greatest degree academic freedom, intellectual diversity, and free expression. So a lot of misconceptions. Now let me, if I could, we've kind of gone through a little bit of the bill itself, and I'm going to tell you what we've seen and where I've faltered and fallen short. This bill, as you've seen in other areas of the country, addresses some of the concerns as it relates to those divisive concepts and DEI legislation. Some have said, well, we don't see it here in Alabama. Why are we even talking about it? My response is, we have seen it, we have talked about it, and sometimes there's things we don't see that we don't get a chance to talk about. I've got articles here, some of them emails from constituents. They've said, here's what I've experienced. As a nursing student who is taught and should be in that profession to help everybody, all that they encounter, but yet one of the processes or one of the classes that they had to take involved diversity. Nothing wrong with that in and of itself, but when you throw in the divisive concepts that we talked about, there's a problem. There's a problem. It does happen here. It has happened here. I'll point to just last year when, I'm going to get the title wrong, and I certainly will not mention her name. I'm sure she's a fine person. The governor had to let somebody go off of the pre-K education program because of some of the divisive concepts that were being espoused to kindergarten students. It's not right. Kindergarten students shouldn't have to hear some of that stuff. That one sex or race is better than the other. It's not. That just because of your national origin or ethnicity, that you're inferior or superior, you're not. And we've tried to take steps in this bill to show that the state of Alabama is not going to stand for that. You're not going to divide us on race. You're not going to divide us on color. You're not going to divide us on ethnicity, national origin. Some people have said that this bill is divisive itself. I'd argue with you about that. Representative Ed Oliver and I went 2 years ago to what I believe is the annual meeting of the NAACP. Had an opportunity to sit down with some folks that were against our bill. I can't tell you that we were at their national convention, we were guest speakers, or the state convention, and we were guest speakers. I'd like to be able to tell you that when I left there, everybody in that room agreed with me. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is that I tried to alleviate the fears that folks had. Tried to explain the bill that was in existence then. Tried to alleviate them of their fears. And to that point, to my colleagues here, to the people who are listening, I faltered. I failed because I haven't been able to point at the words on the page and relay my intention to you and alleviate your fears, justified fears that you have. Some of you I've had heart-to-heart conversations with, hour at a time. Wouldn't trade those conversations. But I haven't been able to alleviate your fears. I've tried. We've put exceptions in here because we are concerned, as Senator Smitherman had said on other legislation, we are concerned about the unintended consequences. Some point in time, I'll have a chance to offer some amendments today. I suspect you'll see some other ones, and we'll have a debate and go through the process, and I think it's a good process. I appreciate the body listening to me, bearing with me. Just realize that this bill is an attempt to pull the divisive languages out of schools, out of the classrooms, to teach history accurately, fairly, so that everybody can be recognized regardless of color, skin, sex, national origin. I've listened to you and I've heard, had conversations, concerns. Mr. President,
What do you have?
Mr. President, I have an amendment.
All right, so I think we're on the committee amendment right now.
Let's get on the committee amendment. That was a
All right.
committee amendment that was offered by Senator Coleman yesterday, and I move for adoption of that committee amendment.
All right, before I do that, let me recognize some special guests in the gallery. Guest of yours, Senator Coleman?
All the women in
Okay, yeah, guest of all the women of the Alabama Senate, the Capitol Hills program with the Women's Foundation of Alabama. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. All right, your motion to adopt the committee amendment. All right,
correct.
Senator Smitherman, you want to speak to this?
I would like to.
You're recognized.
Okay. And by no means I want to eliminate you having the opportunity, because I'm sitting here with this mic. I want to complete what I'm going to say.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, I want you to know that this is not an attempt from me at this moment, because we have different amendments that ultimately, and I think that have to be considered. And so I just want to say that, I also know the process, and if that opportunity is not allowed, then of course, what it is or it'll be in terms of the bill as you go forward. I understand the closure and all of that, and it blocks off a lot of other opportunities. So I just wanted to tell you what my intentions were.
Yes, sir.
And it was to still, at some point, to allow the amendments to be discussed and to be voted whether they need to be up or down, okay? So I just wanted to say that. But I do have a few things I would like to continue to say. And I was going to actually use the time for the BIR to do it, simply because it was my person. It's you and me talking. I'm through the desk has ruled, so the desk is not engaged in this conversation. Now it's you and me. It was my understanding when you came up to the mic that you asked to be recognized. This is me. I ain't trying to say what your intent was, but it was my perception to recognize, as if anybody would, just to have a general discussion about the bill. Then my perception was after that, which I think I'm right about this part, regardless how, I'm a lawyer like you are, and we got a lawyer sitting up there that kind of is our referee, and I understand what nexus mean. A little small bit that hooks you up to say it's all right to do this and that. And I understand that that's possibly what was used in the element of the decision to get to this particular rule. But still, my understanding, and it's a pure understanding, not a vague, is that somebody's got to say that, you know, and at that point I was going to raise to be recognized and discuss what I want to discuss right now. So I just want you to know that at that point that was my intent. But since it's not, I wasn't able to do it that way because of the rulings, and I accept those, you know, because that's the power that they have to make the ruling. I didn't say I agree, I said I accept. Okay, but I accept it, and from there I'd like to move on with my conversation, okay? So I'm not asking you questions, I'm just gonna have some things I wanna say. And then, but I want you to know that I'm not trying to keep you from the mic, okay? I just wanted to say that part. As I was saying earlier, when I was having this discussion, let me find what I'm looking for, is that we're looking at a situation where, and I was talking about how that it sets up a situation to where those schools can now ignore legitimately the programs that they have instituted now that provides a gateway of opportunity for people to get in programs, because see, it's a lot deeper than what is the bill itself shows on the surface. This in itself will now, let me just give you an idea of what I'm saying. As a result of this, you got schools now, and the bill ain't even passed, scared to do anything. They just kind of sitting on hold from trying to help students, but they're sitting on hold from not trying to provide opportunity for students for fear that they are going to, number one, run afoul of what the law says, number two, run afoul of y'all because you're going to punish them in the budget appropriation process. They just don't want to do nothing because they are afraid of what this might do to them. It has put a complete chilling effect on opportunities for minorities in the whole educational realm in this particular state. The next thing is this, is that, and I have to say this, you know, I have to say this, and please just understand. I know you don't, but understand. And I'm not trying to be no way or nothing. But can't nobody tell me what it is to walk in my shoes if you ain't never walked in them. I don't care how much you say I believe and think and all that crap. If you ain't walked in these shoes, you don't know nothing about what really happens when you walk in these shoes. And yet you're making a bill that's supposed to be taking into account the problems I have to walk in the shoes, and it's being told to you by our majority leader and by his staff and everything what the problems are when we walk in these shoes, and then it's being discarded. Because, not you personally, and I'm not talking about you. I want to say that to everybody, you mean the bill, okay? They don't mean you personally. I want to get that out in everybody's air. I've never done that, and I don't ever have any intentions of doing that. There ain't nothing personal in here. I want to say that. But if you have not walked in those shoes, and I had a conversation, and we can't and we shouldn't say it, okay? Where we were this morning, okay? You and I, those folk don't know, you and I laid eyes on each other from 7:30, okay? So I want to say that, but yet, where I was and the conversation I was having, it really kind of enlightened some eyes as this wasn't a subject, well, just general things was a subject. When I mentioned to them, I said that you are looking at the generation that integrated. You're looking at them. Here they are, right here. And when I was 16 years old, Jim Crow was legal. Segregation was legal. When I was 17 years old, Jim Crow was illegal. Okay? And illegal means this. When I was 16 years old, that at the window of the hamburger place, I won't call those names, we don't want to make nobody negative, but at the hamburger place, when we would come out of school and go in the evening, it had 4 windows that you order from the outside, and it had an inside that you go in. 3 of those windows said white right at the top. 1 window said colored, not black, colored. We were not allowed to go into the lobby. We were not allowed to go to those windows. If it was a tornado, the only place you could go was to the window in the rain outside to order and to pick up your order. Now, you say, well, why are you telling me all about this? Why are you talking about all this? Somebody would say that. Because the next year, when it was illegal, they took some paint and they painted over colored. But they didn't use but 1 coat because they still wanted you to know that in their hardest hearts that you should be in your place as a race. And that's your place is there's still this 1 window. Okay? The shoes we walked in from that point on, that's the way we were treated. I don't have to go in no extensive line of anything. You can look back into history and you'll find out when the first African-American student went to one of our flagship universities. You can find out the prevailing attitude where they had to bring in the federal marshals just to protect her so that she could go to class. Why do we think that just because the element of time has passed, which is now from 65 and we're in 2024, that just because time itself passes, that everything is all right now? It ain't all right, not for black people. It's not. You all don't face, when you go into situations like we talking about education, wherever it is, where you never get the benefit of the doubt. You never. You hear what I'm saying over there? We never get a benefit of the doubt. We never. So we go in with a doubt on us already. And we have to prove that the doubt ain't right then before we can be looked at in any realm of being considered in the same level. Now that's a fact. And that goes across the board. It don't matter what our positions are. It don't matter whatever. It's the same thing. That's the same thing I said in your committee when I talked about how I was profiled. Coming to the State House. And I know that's profiling this. It's the same thing, though, that we're trying to say. Coming to the State House, right out there on that main street, riding at 5 miles an hour below the speed limit on purpose. I did that on purpose. I drive down the street. Here's an officer sitting right here. He see me coming. Yeah, I'm in that red Mustang. Hey, you see this red Mustang? And you see this black dude in this Mustang? And yeah, you see the hat I wear with the R on it. Had my hat on. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Had my hat on. Had these shades on. All of a sudden, he got the light out behind me. And I'm a state senator coming to the Capitol while we in session. And I get stopped. He comes up to the side of my car with the gun, his hand on top of the gun, just like George Floyd had to face. See, that kind of stuff. Had the hand on the gun, standing back, and said, give me your license. No, first, get your hand out the car. Put my hands out. Then at the same token, this is what I'm saying about these kind of, the same breath telling me, give me your driver's license. Please tell me, how can I get my driver's license? My hands are outside the car. So I'm telling him that, do you realize I got to go in my back? This is what I said to him. You realize I got to go in my back pocket, which is down here below the seat, to get my wallet to get the license. Now, I asked him, what do you want me to do? Being obedient. What do you want me to do? Then he put his hand a little tight on there. Well, get it. I did just like this with one hand out. Pulled my wallet out, showed it to him, put it out there. Did just like that. Here's my license, same place that we in, and handed it to him. He goes back. Ain't nothing wrong. I wasn't speeding. Because I asked him, what did I do? He didn't say a word. He went back. Then he comes back and give him back and said, well, I ain't gonna give you no warning this time. I said, warning for what? He never said. But then this is what I did to him. This is what I did to him. I reached over here. Same token with my hands out. I reached over here and I pulled this one out. That's my Senate. I said, was I supposed to give you this? He didn't never ask for it. Stick on the car. I said, was I supposed to give you this? Guess what he said then? I don't supposed to be stopping you because you in session. And jumped in his car and peeled rubber getting away from me. Therein lies the story of what this bill does. This bill denies an opportunity for African Americans. And I showed you a case that it don't matter who you are. If you're black, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. I'm a witness that it will happen. No. Unless you want me to. No, I'm not, because I'm on dialogue with him. Deal with amendments, don't y'all go nowhere. I won't. And so that's why I said, you ain't never been faced with that. You ain't not that. I can say that and don't even know your business. You ain't been faced with that, because they ain't gonna just do that to you. And that's what I'm trying to say about denials, because you're gonna be given the benefit, not just you personally, but you're gonna be given the benefit of the doubt. It's just that simple. I ain't saying some stuff don't happen to different people and everybody at some point in time, but nothing like that. Because we don't ever get a benefit of the doubt. That's how we started. That's how the country started recognizing that and providing the opportunity through these programs for us to be able to get that opportunity that we don't get the benefit of the doubt to have the chance to get. The second thing is this, is that we can't put no shield up because some folks don't want to hear the truth. And the truth doesn't mean that they did it themselves, personally. But the truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. For instance, take our airman right down the street at Tuskegee, who went over there and won just about every war that they did. And I was sitting in my office this morning, and I'm reading and having a discussion with somebody of history, the fact that when they left there, they come back to America, they get spit on, can't get jobs, they can't do anything. But yet we want to say that everything is all right. And we don't need diversity, and we don't need opportunities, and we don't need that no more. And we don't want that no more. And in part, as I listened, and when I said listen, I was reading often an analysis of what you were reading. Okay? I wanted to say that to you. Because see, I got one, and when you hear me read this, you'll see I got the same analysis. Like one of them, you were saying that that by virtue of individual race, color, religion, or sex, ethnic, or national origin are inherited responsible for actions committed in the past by other members of the same race, color, religion, sex, ethnic, national. So I want you to know I had the same things that when you hear me talk about them that you read. Okay. Diversity don't mean that that person is inherited responsible because and being blamed for the person that did it. No. But if you're the majority and you control everything, you are responsible for correcting it. I can't correct it. Well, ain't no black folks own no banks. Don't no black folks own no Fortune 500 corporations. We ain't got no black president of our flag schools. We ain't got nobody in them positions. And we are not the majority, so we got to look to y'all to correct what your forefathers created. I didn't say you were responsible, but you the correctors. And it's saying here you don't want no more part of doing that. You don't want to have nothing to do with that. You don't want the doors and the windows open for us to be able to do that. All because of somebody who hears it or who is blamed for it, got their little feelings hurt and don't like it. And they complaining. That stuff you pick up, those are complaints. They talk about the articles. Those are complaints. Because probably somebody said, you're responsible for the stuff that I'm saying here. And that done made somebody feel bad. Or it done made them argue or whatever like that. So now we want to shut off the opportunity for everybody to try to shield them from what they hear and what they're feeling. Well, let me just say it like this. It's a saying that one of our radio announcers said on a talk show in the morning. And they said, the truth, it hurts. They said, sometimes not like riding on a bicycle without a seat. Remember a bicycle without a seat, riding on it? Not like a bicycle we're riding on without a seat, but it hurts. And that's for that person. I'm sorry, but if the truth hurts, it just hurts. If it ain't the truth, then it don't hurt. But you and I, as attorneys, know that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, it simply says it's the freedom of speech. And no matter what we do here, you cannot stop people from talking. So you are harming people to trying to protect somebody for something you can't even stop from happening. But then we want to say because Florida and Texas got it, we got to get it too. We got so many issues out there that if that was a measuring stick that can be used, that won't hurt people. Just like you said, I said, and that's what I'm making reference to. We got an airplane called this. This plane got wings. These wings is killing us. It's killing us. We getting hit and run over left and right with these wings in here. Whether it's the intent or not, it's killing us as a people. It's killing us. This will set us back for years and decades and generations. It's going to take 50 years for us to get back to this point in life once this thing starts coming. 50 years, if not longer. And I know you don't understand because you ain't never walked in these shoes. You read about them, hear talk about them, and look at theory and all that, but you ain't never lived in it. You're not lived in it. You haven't been in it. You haven't been in it when you don't have a chance to even do anything because you can't get your foot in the door. You don't have a chance. It's just like if you look at the sunset when they said that, wait till this one comes up. And I'm not trying to lean on one of our colleagues that happen to represent the area. I'm just telling what the deal is. We got one of these committees that's called the Palanters. You know them guys down there deal with the Borgias and stuff. They ain't had nobody black on there yet. Because they keep, between picking their cousin, okay, and picking somebody over here who qualified as African American, they keep picking the cousin, the nephew, okay? That's what this does. It opens a gateway for that person to be able to get in, to be involved, to be a part of a group, to go in, to be able to move forward in that. And you know the thing about it, the Lord has a way of doing things. And it's so ironic that we will be discussing this bill today. And all these young people are sitting up there They get a chance to see. They get a chance to see what's taking place. They get a chance to see where, they get a chance to see that we're down here, something that don't even matter to them. It don't even matter to them. But we are trying to put limitations so that they won't hear about something, quote, that's divisive. They won't be told something that's divisive, no matter how truthful it is. We don't want them, and we want to punish universities and schools and people who may engage in that conversation because one of them may ask a question. So if one of them asks a question and the teacher moves to answer it, then that teacher is going to be fired based on this right here because they have violated the divisiveness that's trying to be protected here. If it doesn't do it, it has a chilling effect on everybody in education, number one. Number two, the other thing, I heard the fact that we can get the money, and it doesn't matter if you do it individually and all that privately. But at the same time, we want to put them on Broad Street, that you got to put your name out in the front and lights that you're the one that's doing this. We didn't even say that they had to report it like in a normal reporting system. We want them to put the lights out there because we want them to be fearful of the backlash that's going to happen if you go out there and help them from people or the people who buy from or whatever it is. Then we putting them right out there. That's a chilling effect on them even stepping out and trying to help. Now I thought about. I want you to know this. I thought about this coming down, and of course, for me to get down here at 7:30, I had to leave home real early. So I was out there on the interstate early when it was just daylight trying to come. And I got to thinking, and when I looked at this, I thought about, the first thing came to my mind was Atlanta. Now, I want to say this to you. I got a call, at least I had a phone conversation with someone that doesn't live in this state. And this the first thing they said to me. They said, "What are y'all doing down there?" That's the question. I said, "What you mean?" And they were talking about this. They said, "Do you not know that everybody in this country is looking at y'all and they wondering why y'all doing this? They're wondering why you all are setting yourselves up for companies don't want to come here." That was the thing that was asked. I said, "What you mean?" So you remember what happened in the past? You remember that Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama it's the central of the South. And do you remember when all the airlines wanted to locate here? And did you remember why they didn't? Because Alabama was perceived to be very racist. I said perceived. I'd use those words. Perceived to be very racist, and they decided that we cannot locate somewhere here, and we're going to locate in Atlanta, and I don't need to say nothing else about the economic advantages that created for that state and for them. We are going right back there that we are going to lose businesses. We may make some folk happy, but we've been ready to lose businesses. We're getting ready to affect tourism. We're getting ready to affect consumer rights. We're getting ready to affect everything under the name of trying to protect whoever these people may be from somebody telling them the truth of what happened. And as a result of that, saying that I need you at this point because now you are the beneficiaries of all of this to then help correct this. Because we're trying to deal with that, then we're going to cause all those things to happen. Them young people up there, they want a bright and different future. They want an inclusiveness. This experiment of integration, we are in the middle of it now. But this moves to segregate. It moves to block the truth of what happened. if the truth sounds like it, that if I sit here and say, let me say this, if I sit here and said that the Ku Klux used to chase us when we were in high school, 9th and 10th grade, home after we left practice. And they asked me, and I said, yeah, all the Ku Klux, they look like you. What's divisive about that? That's the truth. But it's divisive because it makes them feel guilty that I'm saying that in their mind or heart or somebody will pick up and say, it's like this commercial. It's like this commercial. Somebody's running for school board and they on there come talk about, and they got some lady who you don't see her face, and she said, I talked to my child and they assigned them a Black Lives Matter book. I ain't never heard of a Black Lives Matter book in my life. I ain't never heard of it. And I think I would have heard of it about as well as anybody else. And I ain't never heard of nothing like that. So because they ever signed a book, that's divisive. It's nothing divisive. If they don't want to read it, don't read it. Maybe some folk want to read it. Ain't nothing divisive. But we want to protect everybody from anything that resembles what may or may not have taken place if it's going to make folk feel bad. Well, we can't do that. First of all, the First Amendment says we can't stop people from communicating. But we want to punish our people. And that's what this does. And that's why I have such a concern, because of all this impact. As I said earlier, this legislation, I'll be through in just a few minutes. This legislation destroys diversity and not just harm the minority, but those people who believe that we are all the same in Christ. This legislation will have a negative, and I say negative, effect. There will be gaps in our history, so how do we explain those gaps to our children? So after this body, as I've started to say, moves to do whatever they're doing, then we're going to have the incidents that's what's happening here. I look at this movement that's going on, and remember I said that we were working hard to get back to the days right after Reconstruction. We over here with the libraries. We want to have censorship on what the libraries can provide for people. We want to tell them what they can and can't put on the shelves. People don't have to take stuff off the shelf. They don't want it. But we gonna tell them that we gonna punish you even if you put it in the building. There's nothing right about that. There's nothing right about that censorship. It's nothing right at all. If we don't want those things, then why don't we just have a Kumbaya book burning ceremony and just tell everybody to get in one big pile, any of them books, you send a list out there, bring to the pile and just burn it. Let's just be honest what we're trying to do. We're trying to isolate people. We're trying to isolate their feelings. We're trying to shut people's mouths up from discussing anything that may make somebody not feel good, even though it's the truth. We're trying to do all those kind of things, And as I said earlier, I'm not trying to sit here and argue, or debate whether the people who are living now are to blame. Somehow the people seem to get their feelings hurt and get defensive and whatever because they think it's somebody blaming them. No. What we're saying is that you are enjoying the spoils of what was done to our people. We should have been compensated then and given an opportunity 400 years ago when we were denied being able to even read and write, and we were slaves. And even after coming out of that, in around 1863, I think, or 62, it was to 1964. It was to 1964 before we were able having a chance to vote. And you know what else this does? It puts a chilling effect on people who really want to do it. And that's the most hurting part to me of all. Because if you look back in 1964, that when the people marched for the right for us to vote, that I'm willing to say 30% maybe, 25, 30, I won't say 40, but 25 or 30% of the people who was marching hand in hand and holding a hand for what was right and fair and an opportunity for African Americans look just like you. So now we telling even those people who recognize what I'm saying, who want to do what's right and giving us bootstraps and straps and ladders and helping us and portals to be able to go through so that we can get to that point. You telling them they can't even do that now. That's what's happening in this bill as well. Whether it's your intent or not, that's not what I'm here to discuss. Only people know that inside of them. I'm saying what it's doing. And at the end of the day, let me say this. At the end of the day, I had it right on what I wanted to say about that right quick. Give me 1 second. At the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, you can take away our opportunity. That's okay. You can deny us the opportunity to get an education in a particular area, at a particular institution. That's okay. We can expand prisons to houses and not even parole eligible inmates, because that's what's going on now. Ain't a warrant getting out from over there. That's okay. We can discriminate against us in fair housing, and this opened the door for that as well. In health care, it opens up the door as well. In lending, it opens up the door as well. That's okay. We can deny our children food. That's okay. That's okay. And as I said a few minutes ago, I can go on and on and on. But I want to finish with this sentence here, and I'm going to yield back to you, and we'll move with what we got to do. As I said, I can go on and on. But remember one thing. We've been through slavery. We've been through oppression. We've been through our women being raped. We've been through our men being beat and killed and used like oxen for their strength. And we've been through our children being sold on a commodity. But you know something? We're strong people with strong faith. And God didn't bring us here this far to leave us. As I said earlier, I may be black, but we are still here and we will not be moved. Senator Singleton, do you have any? I'm going to yield back to him with the amendments. I didn't know.
Pro Tem want to go to lunch right now.
Oh.
Mr. President.
All right, Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gentlemen, I think folks need to eat a little lunch. So we're going to take a break. We've got folks outside to visit with. So what I'd like to do, Mr. President, is say that we're going to be in recess from now until 1 p.m. today.
Okay. Heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we stand in recess till 1 p.m.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Where you going? Where you going? Let's go somewhere and talk.